Welcome to this Inside Story, where we go behind the scenes of amazing individuals and ministry that is happening here at Andrew Womack Ministries and Charis Bible College. As friends and partners, you see so much that's happening, that's coming out of the ministry, but we want to let you know and have you meet the people that are making those things happen behind the scenes. So I am incredibly privileged to introduce to you one of the most talented women I have ever met. And this is Miss Melissa Vasquez. And so, Melissa, thank you for being on the Inside Story.
I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, so you have so much. I've been trying to figure out how to get your whole story into 30 minutes because of what God has done, how He's used you, and the things that you're doing here. So we'll start from a childhood. No.
Yes, I was once a child. So were you.
I was. Yeah. Okay, so you have so many talents. I don't even know which one to talk about first, but tell us where you're from and kind of how you were raised and some of the things that God started to stir within you when you were younger.
Okay. I am originally from Bronx, New York.
Okay.
I was
that
born
explains
there.
So much.
I know, like it all comes together suddenly. But we moved to Orlando when I was 6 years old. Mm-hmm. So when people ask me where I'm from, I usually say Orlando because I at least know all the streets in Orlando. When you're 6, you don't have them all memorized.
Yes.
But yeah, so I like to say I'm from Orlando. Growing up, people usually ask me, when did you start singing and stuff like that? And my mother would say, since you were little, like she would just park me in front of the TV and I would just start memorizing, all the songs, like on The Little Mermaid and Disney and stuff like that. And I remember my favorite video was Annie. Musical Annie, so you would always catch me singing tomorrow. So much so that they actually had to get another videotape of it because I wore that one out so much.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I was always dancing. Like I would do, because it was like the mid 80s, so aerobics was really popular, so I was always dancing, doing like aerobics and stuff like that. Eventually they put me in tap dancing classes. And when we moved to Florida, I kind of felt like a little bit insecure, about who I still was. Like I still loved acting and stuff like that. But I went to elementary school thinking, all right, maybe I want to be a doctor or like a nurse or a paramedic or something like that. But it wasn't until middle school where they had an audition for it was for a song called Bubblegum. And it was like a speaking role in the middle of the song where you had to say, and then I chewed my bubblegum and it blew up and so it got so big that it popped or something like that. But I was really nervous to audition for it. So when I walked up to the front of the choir class, I went and I put my all into just saying the line with my full gusto and everyone was like, wow! And they were clapping. And that was the moment where I thought, oh, I could do this.
Oh, that's cool.
I could do this for the rest of my life, I think.
That is awesome.
And so from then on, my mother, saw that I had these giftings naturally ever since I was really young. So she started putting me in voice lessons and acting lessons. And from then on, I was sold. I was going to be an actress. I was going to, be on Broadway one day or on the Disney stage and just singing my heart out.
So from there, so you're in Florida. Okay, so
yes.
Like you mentioned Disney. So there's such a plethora of different things to be involved in. Did any of those doors, did you pursue? Did they open up? What was after the study? What was the next step?
So after high school, I went to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. So I went back to New York City and I studied there. And then after I graduated from there, I soon realized, it's kind of expensive in New York City. I can't afford to live there. So I moved back home to Orlando.
And it's cold. And Florida has beaches. So
I didn't really mind the cold though, because since I grew up in Florida, I was always hot. And the beaches are beautiful, but there's something majestic about the snow, which of course, Colorado definitely gives me plenty of snow. But when I came back to Orlando, I decided to audition for Walt Disney World. And I ended up getting a part-time sub position over at Festival of the Lion King.
Oh.
So that's one of my dreams that came true. I got to sing at Disney World.
That's cool.
A subcontract is basically what happens when someone calls in sick, they call you in so that you're there to fill in and everything like that. But soon after that, they had me do a full-time contract with a jazz a cappella group called Epcot Vibe, which was over at the Epcot Center. And in the American Pavilion Rotunda, we would sing all these like beautiful,
loved to have seen
American.
you.
But I soon found that I was a little bit out of my depth because a cappella music, although it sounds like it should be pretty simple, you're just singing without a band. It was a little bit difficult for me. It was a little bit of a difficult transition, and because of that, I started feeling very insecure. I started thinking, I picked the wrong career. You know, what have I done? And around that time, I was coming towards the end of that contract, and I was just miserable because I was just not myself. Like, you know how like when you get so insecure, you're just kind of like a shell of yourself because you've retreated so much like a little turtle. But around that time, they had announced that Hong Kong Disneyland was auditioning for The Lion King over there. And I thought to myself, God, if you give me this contract, I promise when I get back, I will serve you. So needless to say, I did get that contract. Not to say that that's how you should get God to do anything.
No. But you made a deal.
But I did. We made a deal. So I got to perform. I was part of the opening cast for the Festival of the Lion King in Hong Kong Disneyland from 2005 to 2006.
Oh my God.
So that was a beautiful experience. I got to be there for 9 months. And when we got back, because I didn't get another contract after that, you know, I had to find work again. So I went up to New York, auditioned for cruise lines and whatever show was happening, nothing. Came back home, nothing. And it was around that time before I left that my parents had gotten saved. At a non-denominational church. We grew up Catholic. I'm Puerto Rican, so we're like basically culturally Catholic. So when I was like, what do you mean by saved? Like explain this word saved to me. But they started going to this non-denominational church. So before I left, like they were starting to change. Like my dad was starting to change. I was seeing him actually watching Andrew's program all the time. And I'm like, what is happening here?
Who is this man?
Yeah, who is this man? And so when I came back, I needed to, you know, go to church with them because I'm living with them again because I'm back. So I'm going to church with them. And it was more of a charismatic church. So coming from a Catholic church to this charismatic church, I'm just thinking to myself, why are they yelling? Do you have to yell? I'm right here. But it's because they're so like zealous and, you know, excited about Jesus. But I remember thinking, this is not for me. I'm just doing this to make them happy. I'm just like, no, this is not
free
for
rent.
me.
I just do church.
Exactly. I do church and then, yeah. And so the pastor was talking a lot about relationship with God. And I'm like, I have a relationship with God, right? Like I've been, you know, I've had communion. I'm confirmed, you know, in Catholic church and stuff like that. Yeah. But there was something about what he was saying that was a little different, that God was like actively pursuing you and stuff like that. And that started to intrigue me. And I'm like, what does that look like? And I soon found out because little by little, I felt God trying to talk to me, trying to communicate with me. And it was through the pastor, whenever I went to the church, saying certain things that I had thought that no one knew that I thought, or saying certain things that I probably repeated to someone else. And I'm like, what is happening here?
Wow, that's
so
cool.
In the summer of 2006, I was mostly jobless. Like I only found a job on Craigslist where I was demonstrating karaoke machines at Sam's and Costco's. And that was not it, trust me. So that summer I decided I'm going to surrender. I'm just going to surrender my life to God. I'm going to go up to the front of the altar. I'm going to raise my hands for the first time in church, and I'm just going to surrender to him.
Wow.
And say, Lord, we made a deal. I said that I would serve you, so I am surrendering everything to you right now. And so after that, I thought to myself, well,
amen.
I guess I'm saved now. I'm still trying to figure out what that means, but I'm saved now. So maybe I could audition for the biblical-based theme park in Orlando called the Holy Land Experience. And I went and auditioned there, and they brought me on part-time. And about 6 months later, I came on full-time with them when, basically what happened is that I had part-time, I got another Disney gig, and then I was doing part-time Holy Land, but I was falling in love with Holy Land because I realized that although it's fun to pretend to be someone else, like that's already kind of cookie cutter, it was really cool to play these biblical characters that you could really like infuse more of your own personality to bring them to life and to bring the word to life. And I was just having so much more fun doing that.
Yeah.
So eventually the contract with Disney ended, but they offered me full-time Lion King again. And I had to make a decision. Do I want full-time Lion King, or do I just stick with Holy Land part-time? And I thought, you know what?
Wow.
I'm going to go to Holy Land. And so I turned them down. I went to Holy Land that day, and they said, I told them that they offered me full-time Lion King, but I turned it down. And I was wondering if you have more hours for me. And they were like, you did what? Because it's a theme park town. So
yeah, everybody knows.
Working at Disney is like top shelf. So Holy Land was like, you turned down Disney for us? And I'm like, I did. And they're like, one moment. They made a phone call, and from then on it was full-time.
Oh, that's
and
so
I was
cool.
full-time there from 2006 until 2020.
So that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So did you just sing and act, dance? Were there other things that you also did? Like, what was your full role there?
So at Holy Land, I really got to be really invested into the production process. So I was always acting and singing. That was I am the one of the number one things we did was the woman at the well. I was the woman at the well, you know. So I did that all the time. But it wasn't until towards the end of Jan Crouch's life and when she passed away that I got to be more in a production capacity, and I got to help write shows and direct shows and produce them and
That's awesome.
design them and things like that. So it was, yeah.
Did you ever think that was going to be something that you would do? Like when you were studying in New York?
No, because in New York they train you to sing, act, and dance, and go get the gig.
Yeah.
So when it was my turn to write and to come up with a set design or a costume design, trust me, I had such a huge imposter complex that I was like, they're going to find out that I don't know anything. But luckily, I had really good people around me that, although they were still new to it too, they had confidence in what we could do at the park with the ministry and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Okay, so now so you've gotten saved, you're serving the Lord.
Yeah.
Your dad's watching Andrew.
Yeah.
But how did the connection from Florida to Colorado, like how did that happen?
It's just, God is crazy. It's just amazing how everything happens. So I'm working at the Holy Land Experience. Jan Crouch passed away, I believed, in 2017 in the spring. Anyway, later on in the fall, in October, this very tall Cuban Norwegian woman by the name of Elizabeth Murin was invited to come to the Holy Land Experience to basically see what it is that they can do with the park to help make it more successful and things like that. And it was then that she was called to be the artistic director at the Holy Land Experience. So I began to work with Elizabeth Murin there.
Wow.
And so Elizabeth at the time was working with us at the Holy Land and also at Charis Bible College here as well. So she was doing a lot of flying at the time, going back and forth between Colorado and Orlando.
Wow. Okay, so artistic director. So what did that change for you, and how was that a difficult transition?
Yes, only because it seemed, I mean, just to be real, it seemed like a little bit like a slap in the face, because we worked like tirelessly for 6 months to literally flip the park to put all these shows, and then to have someone come that I don't know, and just bring in all, their productions, and all the productions we do are gone, and they bring all their productions in, pride definitely is gonna come up and be like, hey, like, was it really that bad? And it was just hard for me to see, like, because we were on a bare bones budget at the time where we couldn't like really invest too much into what we wanted to do. But then, when she came in, they, gave her a bigger budget to be able to do what she needed to do. So I was just prickly.
Yeah.
So prickly with pride.
Oh, I can imagine you prickly.
With jealousy, and Elizabeth, just being the majestic person that she is, could obviously sense it because she's so empathetic and so wonderful. But she pulled me aside one day and basically said, I've been hearing that, you guys are, saying some stuff, and she basically wanted to clear the air. And so my coworker and I, sat with her and talked, and my coworker felt like, all right, how to be diplomatic here and sort of explain how we're feeling, et cetera, et cetera. And then she goes, okay, you quiet, now you talk. And she points at me, and I'm like,
I'm no diplomat.
I just start crying, and I'm like, and then this, and then you're just so freaking nice that I can't even be mad at you because you're just so nice to everyone, and I just don't know what to blah. And then I see this, and like, you get to have donkeys, and we couldn't have. I was just, and she starts crying. We're
That's
both
so
crying,
funny.
and we just finally cleared the air, and it just came to this beautiful new relationship and this new partnership.
That's funny.
And just trying to make the best out of the situation.
Yeah.
And ever since then, man, the rest is history. So to continue on with that story, Elizabeth got to bring all of her productions, and she, allowed me to help with the set design and help with the music. And I mean, we were still like partners. So it's
cool.
not like I really lost anything.
Yeah.
If anything, I got to join forces with something that was even bigger than myself and really come under her stewardship and learn even more about all the things that I really didn't have a grasp on yet. And so towards the end of our time at Holy Land in 2020, early 2020, they announced that they were going to stop productions and, just leave the park as more of a living museum type atmosphere. And so that was basically the end of the road for me and all the actors.
And I bet that was hard.
Oh, yeah. It was extremely hard because a lot of us had been working there for a long time, and I was coming up on my 14th anniversary.
Wow.
So it was like, man.
So then, did God start speaking to you the next steps? Like how did that happen?
I mean, because let me put it this way. You, as an actress, you are so used to the routine of, okay, well, this gig is over. Now we go to the next gig, So I was already thinking, all right, looks like I might be going back to Lion King. Looks like I might be going back to a theme park, or maybe they'll have, restaurants and I'll sing with a band or something
Karaoke
like
machines at,
Sam's and Costco's, here I come. Hey, everybody, get your churro. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. Yeah, exactly. Lounging at the Costco's, perfect. The here I come. So I was kind of being small-minded about it. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had literally poured out almost 14 years of my life. I started there when I was 23 years old.
Wow.
So it's like, oh my gosh, all this life that I've done here is done, and I guess I'll go back to a theme park, or maybe I'll take a trip up to New York and visit my aunt and audition for some tours or something like that. But it was around that time that one of our cast members decided to call or just message, because we live in such an age now where you can literally message almost anybody and they'll respond. But he messaged one of the producers from The Chosen to come and visit the park, and he kind of took us up on it.
Oh, wow.
And he came and he visited Holy Land. And it was later on that evening, he spent the day with us and saw what we did and everything like that, and spoke with Elizabeth about, what we were doing there and what they're doing with The Chosen. And we were a few of the cast members and him went to a restaurant, and we're sitting in one of those circular booths, and he goes, wow, so you guys are, kind of done with the performing stuff. So, let's go around and, figure out, what are you going to do? What are your next steps? And so, he went to each actor that was around the table, and finally he got to me and he goes, so, I mean, you have an amazing voice. What are you going to do with that? And I'm like, I'll probably, go back to Disney or something like that. And Elizabeth was sitting right next to me, and she goes, and I was like, or I will go to Colorado. And she goes, and I was like, I guess I'm going to Colorado.
Thus the Lord has spoken.
Right. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
And I hadn't even thought that was really an option, because I didn't know what there was for me here, besides the couple of times that I had been here to, perform in some of the musicals, like The Heart of Christmas and King David. But later on the next day, she had a one-on-one meeting with me, and she goes, "Mommy, I cannot stand the thought of you singing in some bar, okay? I want you to think about coming to Colorado." And I'm like,
That's a good impression.
okay.
Awesome.
I said, yeah, because at that point, what do I have to lose? You know, and she said, "I can't guarantee you a job or anything, but, you know, come."
Yeah.
And so, not knowing what I would be walking into, because I haven't even been to Bible college,
Yeah.
I decided to take a leap of faith, and I came to Charis.
So what was different about Charis? Like, what was the first thing that just totally was different and you saw that God was doing in you when you came?
The first thing I noticed was the people. They were really nice. I'm like, why is everyone so nice? What I really noticed was because when I first came here, it was for the filming of The Heart of Christmas. And so I got to meet a lot of the students.
Yes.
And the students were so like into what they were doing, and they felt like they had purpose. And, you know, when we had to clean up something, it was like, hut, 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 and it would be done. Like,
Yeah.
I would turn around, I'm like, it's clean. How did this happen? Everyone was just willing to just serve in any capacity.
Yeah.
And there was something about that, because, not to say I didn't experience that at Holy Land, but you really had to ask for things, you know, from people. But just to see like how everyone was so unified and so zealous about the cause, you know, of what we were doing, that was like the first thing that resonated with me. So I thought like, wow, these people are like super nice. I got to figure out what's going on over here to see what this is all about. As far as what God had for me here, I think it was more about finding my authority. I think what really resonated with Andrew's messages for me was the believer's authority. And, you know, knowing that you have the power that Christ has given you inside of you to do whatever it is he's called you and more. You don't have to sit around and just, because so much of my life was that, just sit around and just kind of like waiting for things to happen. Oh, you know,
Yeah.
But this new license, if you will, that I can actually, you know, say, no, I'm claiming this for myself, kind of gave me a new lease on life, if you will.
That's amazing. And so now here at Charis, okay, so you do so much.
Yeah.
So what is the current thing that you do here in the ministry at the Bible College across so many spheres? What's the main thing that you do right now?
Right now, my main squeeze is that I am the creative director of communications. So basically, I am, to put it creatively, I am the set designer for your life. So whenever we have a conference or just for the school in general, I basically set the stage for inspiration, if you will. So I get to decorate the banquet hall, or I get to decorate like a photo booth area, so that when people come, they not only have, you know, the experience of being here and just being infused and ignited with everything that God has for them, but also in an artistic way to inspire them, to help like keep it in their memory. Like, oh, that's right, I was there in the fall, because when I walked down the hallway, it was full of aspen trees and fall leaves, or, you know, oh man, I remember when we walked in, you know, after Thanksgiving, and it was all the Christmas decorations was up, and the students just felt like they were home, you know, and that's what we really want our students to feel like. Like, not only is this like your divine interruption in life, but this is the place where, you know, the seed that has been planted in you is just going to be like burning inside of you, and that you'll remember things like that. So that's my main thing. But among other things, I do makeup for some of our filmings. I also still do acting and singing whenever we have a production.
Oh yeah.
I help to come up with ideas for student events, so that students can still feel like, you know, they have cool things to do after school, and really give them a good reason to break out of their routine and like come together and get to know new people, and really fan the flame of their giftings and their faith.
Well, and you also do praise and worship.
Oh yeah, praise and worship.
You like, I think that praise and worship we have at Charis is just amazing.
I know.
But you brought something special to Charis worship. You really have. And when you start singing, people are just like, woo! I mean, it's just like you bring the presence of God. So that has been an amazing ministry that you've done. But one of the things I love recently, we did a meeting. We're talking about all the stuff that we're going to do for, some celebrations. Charis is getting ready to celebrate their 40th year. Excuse me, their 30th year.
The 30th, yeah.
I'm already thinking 10 years ahead. 30 years of Charis, our Festival of Nations, because of all the things that Andrew's doing around the world. And I just loved how we had all these little ideas, and you're like,
yes.
No, come on, let's take it another level.
Yeah, we got to take it up a notch.
I just love that because you bring truly the celebration of just what God is doing, the celebration of transformation and change that's happening for the students.
Yeah.
The celebration of community and networking with like-minded believers. So as they join together and then go out, and then their gifts and callings, they have this community that they go out with.
Exactly.
You're doing all of that.
Yes, and it's so much fun, and it's something that I didn't even know I had inside myself.
Yeah.
Until I came here and was given the opportunity. And yes, I still felt like I was an imposter in some regards, but sometimes you just gotta say, you know what, ignore all the voices.
Yep.
Like, I don't know about you, but sometimes there's I have this council in my head, and they have meetings about why I shouldn't do something. And I'm just standing there in the middle, just listening to all of their reasons why I shouldn't do something, or why this isn't fair, or why, I'm not called to do this, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And then there's that moment where you regain authority over your own self, and you realize, I actually don't have to sit here and listen to this counsel. I can just walk away.
That's good.
And sometimes Jesus will come up and stand next to me, and he'll see the counsel with me. And then he'll look at me and he goes, just go. They can keep talking. Let's go. And
that is awesome.
It's in doing that I've sort of dove into decorating or these events and stuff like that. And because of that, I'm just so excited about what Charis is doing. I really am. Everything you guys are doing there is just so life-changing, and you can just sense the zeal and the fire that's coming from this place.
Amen.
My parents, they miss me because they live in Orlando.
Yeah.
And they're like, why do you have to be up in the mountains? And I'm like, the reception's better. I don't know, I'm just closer to the sky, So I think just that reception right there, I hear God more clearly. It's the altitude. And they're like, all right. And they've come up here a few times, and I think they're starting to
I love it. The last time your dad came up, man, boom, he was in a production.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, he was in a production of the last time we did Overturned, because the original actor wasn't available for when we did it for.
And they recorded him and filmed him, and then we're seeing the film, and he's on stage, and I was like, Melissa's daddy. This is amazing.
Which is great, because in the actual production of Overturned, he played my dad. Yeah. So my dad got to play my dad, and I'm like, this is crazy. He'd never been in any filming before. He'd never really been in a production that big before, so he was so nervous. But he did a fantastic job.
That is so fun. Well, speaking of the productions, it's not just the ones that we do on stage. And I know we have done several inside stories about the productions, Robert and Elizabeth, Murian, all the different things. But movies, there are movies that are coming out.
Yeah.
David Shepard, Warrior. You were a huge star in this last movie that we're getting ready. We're in the editing of it, so stay tuned, of Talita.
Yeah.
And a huge part of that. I am so excited. I feel like Charis is really entering into a whole realm of just movies and the theatrical, and then with television. We're getting ready to do so much more.
It's really exciting.
This ministry is getting ready to do so much more with television. And you are a huge part of the creative process, as well as behind the screen and then on front of the screen. So what do you feel like this next season looks like for you?
It's a lot of, I guess, stepping into my true calling. One thing we like to teach at the Film and Production School is finding the theme of your life.
And you are a teacher in the Film and Production
School.
Yes,
I also help teach in the Film and Production School. I should keep a running tally, a running list of everything I do.
Exactly.
Yes, I also teach
one
in the
of
Film
our
and
major
Production
instructors
schools.
in Film and Production School.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
But we talk about finding the theme of your life, and so I feel like because I finally have settled into what my theme is, I just have this theme of authority versus indifference. Yeah. And whenever I find myself falling into indifference, I know I need to pivot, because the authority that God has placed inside of me
Yeah.
is what he's trying to communicate to the world. And
That's awesome.
so in helping our students find their theme and what God is trying to say, through their lives, I've learned that everything I do now is infused with that theme.
That's awesome.
So because of that, I think what this next, season has for us is probably expanding my territory even more.
Yeah.
And goodness knows what I'll be doing next, because I've been put in so many different areas that I'm like, I didn't know I could do it, but we're just going to jump in,
go for it.
We're just going to go for it and
Yeah.
just take authority over what God has given and just go for it. Because,
Amen.
You've heard the saying, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called.
Amen.
And
Amen.
so wherever God has called me to be, I will be. But I am so excited for everything that is about to happen,
Yeah.
with the movies and oh my gosh, just the fact that right now we're so centered towards ministering to children is just it
Yeah.
makes my heart all goopy. I'm just so excited for it. And I have, some nephews that are just, I can't wait for them to be able to experience
Yeah.
what a relationship with God looks like at
Yeah.
a young age and be able to minister to them at that age that they are now.
Amen. Well, one of the things that I love about film production and the things that are happening with that is we're taking students that didn't even know they could sing or act or
Yeah.
anything and just saying, go for it.
Yep.
And I remember Elizabeth, she just that whole, this is bigger than you.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I think that constantly we're trying to minister through Charis. The teachers, the staff, the students, this is bigger than us. So if we get out of the way
Yep.
and let God be God, then anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Oh, I just loved this time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And, thank you for all that you do. Truly, if you ever come to Charis Bible College and walk the hallways, you're going to see all the talent of Melissa around the building. But then also, please check out. I just want to, my eyes watering here. You make me cry. Just check out what God is doing here at Charis Bible College. There is so many new things. There are so many things that Melissa, the team, the creative teams, film and production, the student body is doing. So Melissa, thank you so much. Thank you for all you do here at the ministry. Thank you for allowing God to teach you and bring you through so many seasons that are now culminating in such a powerful way. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love Melissa. Well, guys, I want to thank you guys for watching, for being a part of this. Thank you as friends and partners of the ministry for enabling so many amazing things to take place for people on their journeys to now be here at Charis Bible College, Andrew Womack Ministries, to help get the gospel as far and as deep as possible. So please come and visit us. Check out all the things that Charis is doing, all the things Andrew Womack is doing, especially check out all the productions so you can see Melissa and the talent and the anointing that she is bringing to the ministry. So God bless you. I look forward to our next Inside Story, where we'll be sharing more with you behind the scenes and the amazing things God is doing to take the gospel as far and as deep as possible. God bless you.
On this Inside Story, Carrie interviewed Melissa Vasquez, who started her singing career at Disneyworld. Melissa is now the creative director of communications, helping students to discover their God-given purpose in life through creative arts. Make plans today to come to our next powerful musical production at Charis, David, King of Jerusalem, on Easter weekend, March 29th and 30th, 2024. Be sure to look for the next Inside Story here on the Andrew Womack Ministries website. In April, watch Carrie interview Andrew Jacobs. After a journey through communication services, Andrew is now the Conference and Events Senior Director for Andrew Womack Ministries and Charis Bible College. See you next time